It's the Jack and Nick Horror Show.
So it's Christmas, right?
Yeah, that's probably when this episode will air. Live on Christmas.
We're recording before getting the other episode out again. My apologies to those who wait constantly for us to release episodes.
Yeah, is it going to take so long for this episode to come out that this is actually our Halloween episode?
It could be. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Just in case. We're recording, for the record, we are recording on August 29th, 2019. That's why we're not talking about it or things like it, right?
Correct. Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm Jack, and that's Nick. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. We are going to be. We have this newfangled thing called a horror podcast that nobody else has.
Right.
We're the only ones, and what we're going to do on said horror podcast is we're gonna review a movie. Well, not review it, but talk about it, I guess. Called Brightburn.
Like, dude, today I saw a tweet from someone that was like, "Oh, I saw some movie, and I thought it was solid. I'm gonna give it a good 7.8 out of 10." And I was like, "What does that mean?" Like, first off, you just told me the name of the movie, and I already forgot it 3 hours later. And what does you giving a movie a 7.8 mean to me at all? What is it? Why do you judge it? Why would you even say anything other than a 7? Like, why 7.8? What's your 7.9? What's your 7.6? Like, I don't understand. Right. So that's why we don't want to review. We just want to talk about it.
Yeah, we just want to talk about it. Like, I mean, sometimes one of us may not like a movie as much as the other one, or we both may not like said movie, but we'll still talk about it. Reviews are like assholes, and they all stink. That's all I got. Except, a couple porn stars, they probably, clean it really well. And, they use that, what's that? It's bleach. They use bleach. Not real bleach. They use some kind of... It's got to be very difficult to bleach that. This is a horror show.
Horror it is. That's what we talk about. I can't stand...
it's funny. I was so excited about being on Twitter again and having fun and stuff. But now it's become mundane bullshit, just like Facebook, where it's the same shit over and over again. Hey, here's a movie still. Caption this, wrong answers only. Getting so tired of it. What's your favorite horror movie? I love Halloween 3. It's so much better than 4 and 5. Oh. It's so annoying.
24 years ago today, this movie came out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 or some shit.
All that does is make people feel old. That's all that does. Nobody gives a shit if a movie came out on a specific day. And then people are like, I'm going to watch it to celebrate. Okay, cool. Awesome. We're being dicks tonight and we don't care. You know what, Nick? I'll talk about it later when we're bullshitting. Yeah, we're gonna do Brightburn and then we're gonna do Bright bullshitting, which will be fun. I think. I like it when we do off the cuff shows. It's kind of like our phone conversations that you and I have. That we always say, man, we should do this on the show. But I have a feeling tonight might be one of those, and hopefully it's controversial and people get really pissed off about it. But who knows? Or maybe they'll appreciate my insight.
Yeah, it probably will be none of these things.
It will be neither. Yeah. All right. So first movie of the week is Brightburn. Let's go, Nick. What if a child from another world crash landed on Earth, but instead of becoming a hero to mankind, he proved to be something far more sinister. Question mark. Brightburn, directed by David Yarovesky. Writers are Brian Gunn and Mark Gunn, brothers of the producer, known as... Come on, say it with me.
James Gunn?
No, Tim Gunn, the guy from
Tim
Project
Gunn,
Runway.
that's
Yeah.
it. I didn't know what was happening.
Yes, James Gunn. Stars Elizabeth...
This is the part I suck at.
Elizabeth Banks, David Denman, Jackson A. Dunn, not to be confused with Nora, and a bunch of other people. So, this movie is basically what if Superman were a dick.
Yeah. I mean, that's really it. Not even a dick, a sociopath.
A fucking
to
little...
destroy.
He's kind of like... This is kind of like we need to talk about Kevin in the town of Brightburn. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right, so now we're going to have a discussion. Kidding. So, Nick, did you like Brightburn?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed Brightburn quite a bit. I expected I would, and I did. All right, so I'm a comic book nerd. I don't really like Superman that much or anything, but I always appreciate alternate takes on any superhero. And this one was done without like DC involvement. It comes very close to the copyrights without going there because it's kind of a satire parody, which makes it A-okay, right?
Mm-hmm. In a sense, yeah.
And man, it's good. Not great, right? I wouldn't say it's great.
No,
I mean,
it's definitely not great. You know what it's like? It's like watching a 90s slasher movie, but the villain is the star and the anti-hero.
Okay.
Which, in a way...
I don't know what you're comparing it to exactly.
No,
are you saying like...
No, I'm just saying that it's like a 90s slasher movie. It's not like an 80s slasher movie. It's like a 90s slasher movie, like a backwoods movie, because, you know, there are horror scenes where one by one he's picking people off. Destroying them, but he's the one that you're following. He's the protagonist, but he's the antagonist as well. Which it's kind of like watching a serial killer movie, but it's like American Psycho. It's kind of like that in a way, where you're watching it through his eyes. In a way.
Yeah, in a way. Well, I mean, it's not entirely from his perspective because it's also like a great deal of the story is about his parents, and the things that they do, and they're kind of weird people too, in a sense, and I think the movie kind of explores that a little, but not much. And you know what I like about this movie too? It rolls along so neatly and so nicely, so that you're not ever like, oh, you know.
Right. It moves at a very fast and good pace. I think it's like just under an hour and a half, which is perfect. Because if this thing were like an hour and 50 or 2 hours, you and I would be bitching right now.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's good, but it could have trimmed off, 25 minutes. Or maybe 30 minutes, yeah.
Like so many things that come to Netflix and everywhere else, at least this one got a theatrical release, so somebody probably stepped in and said, cut this, cut that, cut this. Oh, now it's brisk. Yeah,
it's a good thing to do because, it makes the movie punchy and you're in and out. Yeah, I'll get to it later, but that's more than what I can say for Godzilla King of Monsters, where it's like...
Really?
Yeah. I'll talk about that later. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Okay. I'll talk about it later. It's one of those types of things where, you know what you're getting into when you see this movie, too. And that's why I was comparing it to, like, a slasher movie where it's like, okay, I'm going to see a bunch of people get killed by this superhero kid. And then you watch a movie and it's about a bunch of people getting killed by a superhero kid. Yeah, there's some story, there's some cool shit and stuff in it. I'm not going to spoil the movie. That's what makes it cool and different and neat,
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it really wasn't a huge hit when it came out, which is expected in a way. I thought,
I think it was a modest hit,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Didn't it
Yeah,
make
it wasn't-
enough?
but it wasn't as big as they were hoping, because I think they were trying to like push it to, create a sequel or something like that. But I don't think it needs one. Like, for real, I think it's good, because then you'll start getting into superheroes fighting the super, and then it becomes like a dark comic thing, and then it's like, all right, I mean, maybe it would have been cool. I mean, the guns know what they're doing. They always have ever since Trauma. So, at least James. There are some. Would you say there are some surprises in here about who lives and who dies?
Oh, on the one hand, no, because the only thing that could possibly happen in this movie is pretty much what happens. I mean, I don't want to spoil the ending, but halfway through, I was like, there's only one way this movie could possibly end at this point. And it did end exactly as I predicted. And I'm not saying that I'm like one of those people who's like predicting movies or whatever. Actually, I predicted 2 ways it could end. And I can't say either of them because I don't want to spoil it. But it definitely ended the other way that I had suggested.
Yeah, you and I can talk about that after, because I had a feeling in my gut that something was going to happen, and I'm like, that could either save or ruin this movie. And we're going to find out if it's going to happen. I bet you it's the same ending that we were both thinking was going to happen.
Well, yeah, one or obviously there were 1 or 2. So let's say that.
Yeah. But yeah, there's one character in particular that he visits, let's say, and that person he doesn't revisit after somebody close to them is murdered by him. That happens kind of, I'm not going to say how many times in this movie.
Yeah.
And I just like, well, what happened to that character? Maybe that's in a long cut. Who knows? I haven't watched the deleted scenes yet.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a good movie. Like we said, because it's concise. I think it's gorier than I expected. I will say that, which is amazing. Because so many movies these days are not gore. You don't see a lot of good gore in movies these days. Like,
No.
wow, I've never seen that before. And this movie had a few.
A lot of them are aiming for the PG-13 crowd, because a lot of the studios are owned by, like Scope and shit. So like they're like, well, we got to market this to people so they buy our product. So, oh, you got gore in this? No, turn that camera away.
Yeah. There's a few other things like that are like prohibitive, make movies like this more prohibitive, especially people overreacting to things online. They don't want to push the wrong buttons, so there's a lot of reasons why you don't see as much gore in movies, and then this one was just like, fuck it.
Yeah, why not?
And it was grotesque at times, and that had no reason to be, and I love it for it, because that's gratuitous and lovely.
Yep.
I'm trying not to say but I feel like I said it like 17 times tonight.
Say
and now I said see that?
Say
So what else can you think of that is relevant without spoiling? What else did you like here?
I mean, it's pretty much. One thing I said about the movie, like I posted on Twitter, which I haven't done too much of for a reason. I'll get to that later. About posting about what movie I'm watching, and I just post a movie, and if people want to ask what I thought of it, I'll answer. One annoyance I have of all social media is going to see this movie, and somebody says, "How was it?" No reply, no response. It's like, motherfucker, like, you told everybody you're going to see the movie. Now, answer the fucking question. It's
7.8 out of 10.
Yeah, 7.8.
7.8.
But when the person therein, if you do answer and they go, well, I'm not going to see it now because you didn't like it, then you're a fucking idiot. Plain and simple. You have a small mind who doesn't understand that you may like something that somebody else may not like. It happens.
You got to take a lot of things into consideration when you do or don't see something. Not just one person's opinion.
Right.
Not just because Jack and Nick said.
Ugh.
We should be part of your opinion-making process, but not the end of that, right?
Yep. There are some people, there's one person who ridiculed me for absolutely loving Strangers Pray at Night, which is by far one of the best movies of the decade. And he like went through this whole rant, and I said, I liked it, you know?
I had to think for a second if it was me who did
it wasn't
that. But it was not.
No.
I did not hate it.
Nah, it's my buddy Casey. I love the man. You know that. But, like, you know, it's one of those things that, like, you know, you can disagree with me, and I think that's all that was anyway. But please, don't base your movie watching on, you know, you can say, hey, all right, these assholes liked it. I may like it. That's cool. But, you know, if we didn't like something, still watch it, because you'll probably get more out of it than our lame asses did. So.
Right, man. But anyway, this movie, good. And
it was
like,
well worth the purchase, I gotta say. Purchase,
huh?
Yes.
I got it because somebody gave me a digital code. You know who that was?
That was me.
So you purchased it for me.
I purchased it for you, yes.
It was good, though.
Therefore, I do have digital codes. I have everything on my iTunes, but I'm like, you know what? This time I'm going to share it with Nick so he can watch it and talk about it with you lovely people. It's kind of like, hey, I invited Nick over to watch the movie with me. That's not the same as fucking torrenting the motherfucker.
Clearly. So that was a time. I'm trying to think of anything else from this movie that I particularly enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed it on the comic nerd level, the horror nerd level, the gore hound nerd level. It's a good horror movie. You know what else it is? It's pretty original, even though it's obviously based on like a satire of Superman. Everybody who's like, oh, I want to see something new and completely different, this is it.
Right.
Like, this was good and completely different, you know? So
I think that it would have been cool to see this in a theater with a sold-out crowd that was really amped to see it.
possibly, sure.
And I have a feeling that you really didn't get that when it had its very brief theatrical run. That would have been cool to see, though. Like, you know.
Yeah, it was only out for like 2 weeks around here, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Which is, you know, that's the it's all about that opening weekend. That's how they get their, you know, recoup their losses, and then let's get it out. Let's get it out of there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is that all we have to say about this, really?
I mean, oh yeah, the Twitter thing. So somebody asked me how it was, and my response, I can actually read it. I said, I liked it. Pretty much what I was expecting. It's a chicken cross the road movie for me, which isn't bad. And I said slasher with a supervillain, but he's the protagonist. Kind of like what I said here.
Close, yes.
And they said, cool, maybe I'll redbox it to find out why the chicken crossed the road. And I said, I bet you know the answer. Because when I say it's a chicken cross the road movie...
Right, you're going to come to one of two conclusions that is going to end this movie. And it's exactly one of those two. Yeah. So, and I really appreciate the ending of this movie. I think that a lot of movies don't go all the way in one way or another, and this one at least chose one and went there. Mm-hmm. So,
and
that's
then
cool.
It said, yep, that's our ending, deal with it. And it's like, okay. That's cool by me. You know? Man. Chicken Cross the Road review, timestamp.
And like you said, like it's like what the movie about Kevin, what we need to talk about Kevin, right?
Same thing. Yep. Mm-hmm. So you know
Good
where
stuff.
it's going.
So let's take a little while, I guess. We'll move on. I have some horror news topics I'd like to speak on. You want to talk on those?
Yeah, we'll do that.
And some stuff we've seen. We can discuss that shit too.
We'll take a break. Do you want to take a quick break or a fast or a slow break?
Like a medium break. I don't want people to go to sleep in between.
Like I'm saying with the musical choice, do you want it to go like a couple bars or like maybe you want it to be medium?
Let's give it like 10 and a half seconds. Can you do that?
10.5 seconds. Okay, yeah. All right.
Okay, thanks.
Starting now. Now. How about now?
There we are.
All right.
So.
All right, we'll do it now.
Yeah.
Okay. But, yeah, now. It's going now.
And, okay.
We're back after 10.5 seconds. Nick.
Yeah.
Before you talk about your horror news thing, so here's my little thing that I do. It's when I'm writing. I don't like to watch horror movies. Like if I'm writing a horror movie, I don't like to watch horror movies. I love horror movies. I have tons of them, but I can't watch them. Reason is that you start to, put everything into your brain, and then as you're writing, you're like, oh, I want to write something like that scene or that scene. You know what I mean? I know you're not a writer, but you can see it in a lot of filmmakers, when they make their homages and shit. It's like, oh, I was watching this movie when I was, I was writing this movie when I was, whatever.
I was reading Superman when I wrote Brightburn.
Yeah. But, you get that. So what I normally do is I try to watch, like, the best movies ever made by the masses, self-proclaimed, or my favorite movies I've ever seen, non-horror. And what I do is I write something completely different than those movies, including dialogue, characters, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's the best way for me. That's my process. So if that ever helps, it's one thing I always say is that the best horror movies ever made, if you make a list, from the masses, the best movies ever made are made by non-horror film directors. For the most part. A lot of them are. Like, some of the biggest ones. And, I'm not going to go on a rant about that, but not that I, would aspire to be that. And what I'm writing isn't necessarily a film, so we'll see what happens with that. And I'm not like going, I'm not talking about any fucking thing that I'm doing anymore. I am not telling people shit. The only people that know are the people I know that they're not on this show. They're not on Twitter. They're people I know. And I'm not going to be like, oh, hey, because we know how that story ends up. And somebody will either take it, right, Nick?
Yep.
Somebody will take it, roll with it, and claim it as their own, and then call me a piece of shit after stealing it, because, that's what people do. So, this horror news you had.
I didn't have horror news. I'm bringing other people's horror news to the table here for us to discuss.
Yes, please.
We ain't been on for a while, so I wanted to discuss things. Now, all of this will be 3-month-old news by the time you guys hear it.
That's fine. Sometimes people catch up with news 3 months later, and then sometimes they share a meme that was shared 2 or 3 years ago too. So, and articles. So
I know.
Yeah.
This is how the old work. So, all right. So Elvira's been on Twitter saying that she was working on a show on Netflix or Shudder, and that both of them kind of turned down her show ideas and pitches, and they're not happening. And I believe it was going to be like a horror host type thing. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? I mean, if it was on, before you start, if it was on, it's probably something both of us would have watched, right?
Of course, yeah. I have all her DVDs, so.
Right.
Like I have like the horror host segments, and she released double feature DVDs that you could still get at like FYE pretty cheap, by the way, before they go out of print. Which are really fun. Like they're fun to watch. I might watch one tonight, as a matter of fact, to go to sleep to. They're very calming and relaxing, and it's fun.
Right.
Now, I've been seeing both Shudder and Netflix turn that down, and it could be that they I see a lot of people yelling at Shudder like, "What the fuck? Why wouldn't you? You could have her on while Joe Bob is on or off, and just vice versa.
Switch back and forth."
Yeah, and it's like, well, there's a reason. They probably don't have the money for it, which they do because it's AMC. That's what Shudder is, by the way. as a lot of people should know that. But
And they share distribution with Amazon, who
Right.
also
right,
clearly don't spend on their own shows.
right. So, I mean, Joe Bob himself has talked about the last drive-in budget on different interviews. You can listen to them, and it's not the greatest budget for the shows.
Now, I'm sure it's tiny.
Yeah. Like he has to
For
film
a TV show.
in Newark, the carjacking capital of the world.
Nice.
It is.
Especially with Elvira, I think they don't want to probably cannibalize.
Right.
Like in our minds as horror fans, it's like, man, I want every Friday night for there to be an accessible horror host show with garbage movies that I could turn on and watch, right?
Yep.
And that would be cool, but also people would get sick of it.
And get sick of it and tired.
They'd like one host and not the other.
Yep.
Why can't Joe Bob come back? And we'd have all this bullshit that we don't really need. We don't need wars between people. It's hard enough to get horror on television. I mean, it would be cool to have just like what Joe Bob is like. Obviously, we both really like it. I don't have to go into it any more than I already have. But I like that it's an accessible thing that we can watch if we want, when we want, put on whenever. I know in the Chicago area they have Svengoolie or whatever, and I see people tweeting about it, and I always feel kind of left out. Like I have no fucking idea what's going on, and I can't stop all my shit to go watch some internet stream somewhere. I don't care enough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's it would be cool, but it's also like too much of a good thing would not be cool.
Right, because
and it makes us all sad.
You get worn out from it. It just happens because you're used to. And another thing too, Elvira is very counter programming to Joe Bob. Yeah, they're both hosts, but she doesn't sit there and give you factoids. She makes fun of the movie that you're watching.
It's a different thing for sure.
Yeah, and it's not like, oh, and we're going to be watching this Boris Karloff classic, and Boris comes from she'll be like Boris, more like turn it off or whatever. That's how she is. It's like
that was so stupid. It's perfect. Because that's exactly what it'd be.
Yeah.
And it is a lot cheesier, right?
It is. But she's fun.
I'm sure that she's overpriced for Netflix, or excuse me, for Shudder, but I'm sure that she's like underpriced for Netflix. And I don't mean price-wise. I mean like Netflix clearly, when they're developing shows, want these high-end franchise-type shows. Like they have with the Marvel shows and Dark Crystal, which debuts tomorrow on our timeline. And they want shows, and they don't treat them well after season 3 for some reason. Every show that's on that network is like guaranteed to be over by season 3. Mm-hmm. That's a weird thing. But they clearly want that prestige television and not like a goofy special that'll run the month of October.
Well, yeah, they're doing I mean, they have a lot of turnover because they know what the ratings are. They don't release those ratings. Sometimes they tout them on Twitter.
You mean like the viewings?
Yeah, the viewings.
Like how much? Yeah, like they'll be like, this was the most watched movie ever. Mm-hmm. This was the most watched new show ever. And I think they don't even give like real numbers.
One of the most watched ones was an Adam Sandler movie.
Right.
So you never know. And then one thing that people tend to do is romanticize about stuff once it's gone. Like, it's the same as, like, you're in a relationship, you're happy, and then it gets boring, and then you guys break up, and then after a while, you're like, man, I really want that back. When you think about all the good stuff. Same with TV shows, movies, whatever. Once it gets canceled, that's when people give a shit. Like that movie with the, from the mass shootings, the movie The Hunt, that got canned.
Yeah.
They pulled it, and nobody gave a shit about that. Nobody was going to go see that. It was going to be in like 2 theaters, maybe 200 at max, and nobody would have seen it. It would have been out on VOD very shortly thereafter, and that's it. It's like All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, same thing. People got really excited about that, and it's it was gone for years, and people had to bootleg it and stuff, and and it happens all the time. But with Elvira, people forget, she had a show when The Walking Dead aired for the first time. It was not counter programming, but it aired that same week. Because I recall that I was living in California at the time, and I was excited about Walking Dead, and I was very excited about Elvira coming back because I missed the horror host things, and there was like a snafu with like what time it aired or something, and I missed it, and I was like, what the fuck? I was so mad, and then I watched Walking Dead, and I was like, oh, okay. Can I want to get back to Elvira. Can I see that, please? And yeah, but I mean, she had that already, and it lasted like, I think it was like 13 shows or something like that. But they didn't renew her contract as well. I can't remember what cable channel that was.
Yeah, it's one of those things though where it's like it's just a cheesy thing. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like the market for Elvira is pretty small, right? Like if she wanted to do a YouTube thing, she could probably do it. Maybe not with the current climate of YouTube, because YouTube is very anti-horror right now for shows, even like our own on YouTube. Doesn't do so well because they cut horror stuff from suggestions, except for things that are like put out by big studios. Right. I know like there's one YouTube show that I follow called Bloodbath and Beyond, and they had recently shared and this is like off topic a little, but they had recently shared how they have to basically change their name. No, they can't change their name. They just have to stop and give up and like make a new channel in order to get their hits again, because the name Bloodbath and Beyond like probably threw off the algorithm. And they showed their stats and like how at each of the YouTube adpocalypses their suggested hits had dropped, like, and now it's completely non-existent. And you can follow that with even like, and we're a much smaller operation on YouTube. Like we went from getting like hundreds of hits per video to getting like single digits per video somehow, which is hilarious. But and I mean, it's not like our podcast downloads are still in the thousands when we put out episodes and stuff. But well, it's just YouTube sucks. So everything I just said about Elvira going to YouTube wouldn't work. Forget me.
Dumbass. Now, what's his name? Has been doing a show. Gore Duvall. He's been doing a bunch of them. I think through YouTube or his own channel or something, or Roku. But same thing. Like it's just there's so much content. It's just overpowering to the point of like there's too much. There's too many TV shows on streaming and all that. And
right.
I mean, you and I had a little discussion this week about that too, where there is so much content, and yet everybody has to be on top of all the content to appear like they know everything about everything to the people that are strangers on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And if that's their thing, let it be, who cares? I know that there are things that, there are times I sit here and go, man, I wish I had seen every Western ever made. I'm never going to see every single Western ever made. It's just not going to happen. And sometimes I'm like, oh man, I really wish that I went, dug deep and got every single old horror movie and just watched all of them. It's like, and then I start to think to myself, well, maybe that's not a wise choice because you only have one life, as they say, or whatever. That's a lot of time that you're going to be wasting just so you can appear to know what the fuck you're talking about in a discussion that's going to go into the ether of nothingness.
Yep.
So there's no point. It's like when we do the show, for those that listen to us, awesome, thank you. We're two assholes, as we have said before. And
this episode.
This episode. But we don't, like, at least I don't take the shit serious. Like, I really just do it for fun because it's like when you get very serious about movie watching, it's like other people can do it. It's not a thing that you can do better than anybody else. You're sitting and watching, or standing, whatever, laying, watching somebody else's creating or creative content, and then talking about it. That's what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That's why we do a show. But I'm not going to get extremely serious about it. I mean, there are some things we all do where it's like, wait a minute, you haven't seen that? Oh, maybe you should. That, something like that. Just like a recommendation or whatever. But I don't know. What's your take on that, Nick?
No, I mean, I pretty much agree. I think that there's a lot of even on YouTube, a lot of it is like the secondary opinions market, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which we're part of, and it is hard to take seriously. And I think that's also like kind of the negative of it is like with YouTube or or podcasting or anything, a lot of it's been usurped. Where it used to be a DIY thing. And now there was an article the other day, I forget what magazine ran it, but it had Conan O'Brien on the cover, that he's revolutionized podcasting because he started a podcast that gets millions of downloads. And it's like, he didn't do anything. Podcasts, like we, two jackasses like us, have been podcasting for 8 years. Mm-hmm. Other people have been podcasting since the early 2000s,
Adam Curry was one of the first podcasters.
Yeah,
Adam
but
Curry from MTV.
You understand what I'm saying, where it's like not a new thing, but everybody's treating it like it's like, oh my God, it's a genius because this person did it and gave me something to listen to, unlike all you other jerk-offs out there just making crap or whatever. And I don't know.
We're jerk-offs too.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, though. It's frustrating because I feel like – when we first started podcasting, we had a lot more opportunities to get ahead. And now if we wanted to do this like competitively or seriously, it'd be impossible for us. Right. And I mean, not even impossible. It would just be like a lot of fucking work to the point where it's a second job.
Oh, yeah.
And then you lose yourself in it. You lose your ability to say what you want because you have sponsors to please and other people and stuff like that. And that's why we don't generally chase sponsorships or ads, free downloads of movies so that we can kiss the butts of the people who made them. And, it's not our thing. So we at least give our true opinion, and that's pretty good, I guess. I don't know. What else do you want to say about that, man?
I don't know.
Nothing? Let's move on. We got to talk about something else because we just went way off topic from Elvira.
I was going to bring it back and say, so to answer your question.
Yeah.
No, it's one of them. We talked the Elvira thing already, but I think it would be cool if she did another show again on one of the channels. There are plenty to choose from, but Joe Bob is riding the wave right now, and all power to him. I mean, it's great. And what's going to happen is, unfortunately, the same thing that happened to Monster Vision, which, we really don't want to see, but also, it's going to run its course at one point, and then when it happens, it's going to suck, and then that's when everybody's going to be like, do you have copies of it?
Because they can't watch it when it's on. Yeah. There was already talk of losing some episodes from Joe Bob because of as they lose the rights to the movies.
Yeah, they might
lose some episodes of his.
Yeah,
that's great.
They deleted the Sleepaway Camp and Daughters of Darkness. I think they took that out. A couple others, but it happens. That's what happens when you don't have hard media. It sucks, Movie rights come and go quick. And what is it? Everybody got all like jerk offy when Nightmare on Elm Street series that came to Shudder, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, I've never seen these movies. I'm gonna watch them all." It's like, okay, go ahead and watch them, even though you have it right there on your shelf. But whatever. And they're already gone by the end of this month. They just were on for this month, and that's it. So that kind of stuff is going to continuously happen, and it's going to keep shifting So you're not going to have the content at all times. It's just not going to be there at your fingertips like you think it is, unless you're paying a lot of money for different subscription services.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Depressing world we live in. Depressing world. Let's talk more about it.
Yes.
We're going to talk about... okay, so... one thing that I thought was really interesting, I actually read this on Twitter today, and I think you'll like this news too if you have a Carl's Jr. near you.
I don't.
Okay, neither do I. So Carl's Jr., very interestingly, is doing a cross-promotion with the Pennywise movie, where you can buy cups with, like, Pennywise on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, excuse me, Pennywise movie. The movie It 2, Chapter 2.
Yeah,
is what I meant.
I've heard of it.
Because I'm an idiot. Yeah, it's coming out soon. Theaters near you. I was really interested in this because I was like, man, this is the first time that I can recall where they are doing a cross-promotional thing with horror movies, right?
And an R-rated one at that, yeah.
In what, 20 years, 30 years since, like, Freddy?
There was no real promotion at fast food joints for Freddy.
No, there wasn't. But Freddy at least had, like, synergistic advertising with other entities. He'd appear on TV shows and such. You know what I mean?
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, in terms of iconic horror villains appearing on products at all, that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It got
and I mean,
the zeitgeist, the mindset of the masses.
It's just really cool that happened. Like, I mean, we went from horror movies, like, you know, when we started podcasting 8 years ago, nothing was coming out in theaters like it is now. And for one of them to be big enough to be on, like, it's such a small victory, you know, to be on, like, cups at a fast food place. That's actually pretty good. Carl's Jr. So have you ever been there to one? I mean, I know you don't have one near you, but...
No, there was one when I lived in California, and I went there quite a bit. I used to get their Hawaiian burger all the time. It was really delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got when I went to the one, or where'd I go? I think it was in Virginia or something like that, where I went, and it was pretty good.
Yeah,
I cannot complain.
There was there was like a Big Kahuna burger down the road, which was like a sit-in place, much better than Carl's Jr. Naturally, but oh man, the fries were delicious too.
So,
I
now that we
loved California.
kind of went off topic again, talking about burgers, but that's fine. I love cheeseburgers.
Hey, by the way, so we both had the Impossible Whopper.
Oh, we both did.
Yeah, not together.
No. Did you like it?
I did. I thought it tasted pretty close to burger. Actually, closer than the Bubba veggie burgers, which I've also tried. Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a problem with it per se. I thought it was one of the worst Impossible burgers I'd had, or Beyond Burgers. I've had others in restaurants that were pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
But I mean, it's Burger King.
Exactly, it's Burger King, so it's not like I'm complaining. I think that their old veggie burger used to be better, though.
I'm happy that they're doing stuff. Them and KFC are doing shit like that too, and I think it's cool.
If only they had Pennywise on the goddamn cups. And the Pennywise thing, there are 4 of them. If you live near Carl's Jr., go out and get your Pennywise cups.
And then sell them on eBay.
Can you remember any time, though, that there's been like a horror-themed like thing like this, where it was like really like a family food restaurant?
Nope.
It's fascinating, right?
The only thing that's remotely close, and not really, is Jurassic Park, and that's it.
Right, like Jurassic Park.
Terminator? What's the Terminator?
Terminator definitely had tie-ins at the time with
I think 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven, yeah. Wow. We both remembered it at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty weird, pretty cool that we finally have shit like that going on.
But that's not horror. It's not a horror villain.
T2 is not. Terminator 1 is.
Terminator 1 is a slasher movie.
Absolutely.
I'll fight people.
You don't believe me? Fight me.
No, I won't fight people. We're assholes, remember. I'm an asshole. Yeah.
So, I also got one other thing I kind of wanted to talk about is this thing that kind of annoys me. only because of the person in the movies. It kind of annoys me. But Charles Montgomery Punk, otherwise known as Phil Brooks, the failed MMA fighter, otherwise known as CM Punk, the former wrestler. He's in a bunch of movies now, horror movies. I think he's trying to be a genre guy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I don't
Is
like
that
him.
the guy that looks like me?
He looks like you in a weird way. Like if you took your face and subtracted the Robert De Niro impression and put slightly more hair on top, and also were a different nose. Just a different nose, okay? Definitely. I don't think he looks like you.
Okay.
I wouldn't describe it as such, but I can see why you would think that.
Well, I mean, you sent a picture on Twitter that he looked like me, so.
Yeah, he did in that picture on Twitter. But he looks like you now, except he doesn't in these movies. I guess that they filmed them before, you got older. Because he's going to be in the Soska Sisters Rabid remake of the David Cronenberg movie, which I hear is full of David Cronenberg Easter eggs for those with eyeballs, and also Girl on the Third Floor, which is a haunting type movie. And I saw the trailer for both of these. It looks like he's probably more of a minor part in Rabid, but he's also
It sounded like you said grab it.
Rabid. Man, I don't like CM Punk a lot as a person because he's a huge dick. But also, like from what I know of him, and the stories are pretty plentiful, that he's probably a huge dick. He's being sued by his best friend. Go look that up.
Are you jealous of his size?
His size?
There, go on.
What?
When you listen back, you'll get it. All right, go on.
So he what else did I say about him? I guess I could have shown you the trailers first, and you could have told me your opinion on these movies. But I'll just tell you my opinion.
Go on.
Girl on the Third Floor looks like a pretty typical haunting movie that everybody is like. Maybe it's because I'm a wrestling fan, but I see a lot more of this trailer than I ever needed to. It looks like a generic kind of haunting movie, and there's literally stuff in it that seems to be lifted directly from the I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, which is a movie that came out, I think, last year or the year before. There are parts in it that are like just completely lifted from it, like where there's mold on a wall and he puts his fingers into the mold and then they replace the mold, but the mold comes back in other parts of the house and there's haunted mold shit going on. And maybe it'll be great. Maybe I'll watch it and it'll be great. And I'm having a hard time discerning whether or not I'm actually going to enjoy it because CM Punk is in it.
I mean, I've watched stuff with people I can't stand in it, but
I know, and I'll
really
give anything a chance.
Yeah,
I know.
There was one thing I mentioned to you. I can't remember. I brought it up earlier. A couple of movies I watched, which I'll just go right through. One is The Intruder. I love Dennis Quaid. He's like, he's Dennis Quaid. I fucking love anything Dennis Quaid does. And he's the best part of The Intruder. It's, I'll just say, it's another chicken cross the road kind of movie. You know what you're getting into. Have you seen any movie where there's a couple and they're being harassed by somebody?
Yes, I've seen a few. Okay,
and you saw The Intruder then. And however, The Intruder is kind of a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm going to say about it. But yeah, Godzilla King of Monsters. Let me just throw this out there real quick. I didn't hate the movie, but I turned into Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park about 45 minutes or so into it. And I was like, yeah, there are going to be monsters in this King of Monsters movie. Because it's like, oh yeah, there's a girl, and then we're going to, she's got, parents that are separated, and, oh, I love my dad, and but I'm with my mom, and she's a military woman, he's a military guy, and then it's like, can we just fucking get to the part where the monsters fight? I know that if it's just monsters fighting, it's boring, and I get it. I get the setup, but Jesus Christ, man, it's not bad. That's all I'll say. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah.
No, you haven't.
No, I'm never going to based on that description because
it's like
I am not following. Hang on, I got to point out, I'm not going to follow the advice that we gave earlier, where I said watch many people listen. I'm just not following that advice on this one.
For me, again, this is not. Like, I bought the fucking movie, so I'm not, like, sitting here going, no, I just rented or saw it for free by torrenting it. And I'm just going to keep saying that. I don't care. But I was, like, I was amped to watch it, and I'm like, hey, it's going to be a fucking Godzilla movie. And it was. Except there's just so much drama, and the dialogue is just... It's so freaking, like, committee writing. You know, like, all right, we need a one-liner here. We need this one here, and then
there's got to be a quip.
Yeah.
Who's got a quip?
And it's like it's not just horror. It's every movie. Something's really loud, loud music, thunder, boom, 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 and then all of a sudden, it all stops, and then it's goodbye, motherfucker, and then that thing explodes. That kind of thing. They don't say that in this, but. I've seen it before, and I get it. You know, people love it. Some people are like, it wasn't terrible, but I hate to say this, I kind of like the first one a little bit more. Just a little bit. It has a whole bunch of monsters in it, and that's cool. It has some great moments with the monsters, especially towards the end. Mothra is really awesome. Rodan, all that. Like, it's fun. But Godzilla, I fucking love Godzilla. He's adorable. Like, I actually texted you that I was watching it, and I said I felt bad for the monsters. And I always do. Yeah. As I mentioned, like, I feel bad for villains in the movies all the time. And I felt bad for the monsters, A, because they're hardly in it. And when they are, they're almost like, well, they're being used, Just like, these poor things. They were just sleeping. And then these asshole humans had to wake them up and cause all this destruction and then make the one fight the other one. And it's like, God damn it. People. You guys suck. But that's what it's all about. There's so many, whatever. But that's Godzilla. That's my terrible review. It's not a bad movie. It's just like, it's middling and it's kind of annoying at times.
Right, man.
The cast is crazy too. They got so many people in it, and you're just like, really? You're in this throwaway part? Okay. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes long.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like. And we had talked about this offline during the week, and I was trying not to bring this up, but like a lot of people complain about Disney right now, about how Disney owns everything Hollywood-wise and stuff. Mm-hmm. But Disney movies have succeeded, specifically like the Marvel movies, where these other movies fail, like where they're just made by a committee of people, a group of people who are making movies based on what the spreadsheets and charts and data tells them to make. Oh, it looks like audiences like this. Let's do this. And then 34 minutes of that, and granted, I'm sure that type of stuff goes on with Marvel movies as well to some degree. And I'm sure that there's some degree of this done by Disney behind the scenes. There has to be, because it's a multi-billion-dollar operation. But at the end of the day, there's somebody sitting there going, well, is it cool? Is this fun? Not just slopping them out there, like totally disconnected from their product, Right. So, I mean, it's not exactly horror, and we're not even talking about horror exactly, but there's just a right way to make movies and several million wrong ways to make them,
Well,
so
horror,
I hope that
okay. I was gonna say horror has its
no,
own
I hope that they
Disney. It's Blumhouse. Right now.
Oh, it does. Yes, thank God for Blumhouse. And I mean, I think that we said it a lot. Like a lot of the movies, I don't really care for, but I think that they have brought horror. His operation Bloom. What's his name? Jason Bloom.
Blum. Yeah.
Jim Bloom.
Blum.
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 I say it wrong. Don't care.
Say it like plum, but a B there instead of P there.
So Blump brought back horror in a lot of ways that we wanted to see horror come back. And even if we aren't fans of like the ghosty, spooky Boo movies, like at least they're there. You know what I mean? So that's cool.
They're trying, and that's the cool thing. They are trying, regardless of what you think of, not you, Nick, but the person listening. Regardless of what you think of Blumhouse, they're trying to appease you. Not everything they make is going to be your cup of tea, but they're actually doing something about it, and hopefully other people follow suit, but until then, it's just going to be Blumhouse until somebody else comes along. And it might be like Disney horror.
Right. So, at any rate, I hope that they figure stuff out by the next Godzilla movie, Godzilla vs. King Kong, or whatever they're calling it.
That's been delayed. It's already it's shot, but I think they're doing reshoots, and they delayed it last time.
Yeah, they got to add in more humans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's annoying.
It really is.
And I also saw a movie that was like you described with The Intruder, enjoyable, but unlike The Intruder, very different from any movie that I've ever seen before at all. Mm-hmm. I actually hadn't heard much about this movie at all. I remember when it was coming out, when it was being made, that they said that Danny McBride was working on some movie that he was making. Mm-hmm. And that movie was Arizona, which is on HBO Go right now. And it's more of like a thriller, but it has like horror aspects to it. Mm-hmm. It is about a dude it's not even about the dude. It's about a real estate agent who's a woman who, during the economic downturn of like 2008, 2009, sold a lot of houses to people who then went bankrupt and lost their houses in Arizona. And Danny McBride is an angry customer who comes to yell at one of the other realtors, and he accidentally kills him. And this sets off a whole ridiculous series of events where it's like, what if the killer in a movie was an absolute moron who had guns and barely knows how to use them? And it is a dark comedy movie that it felt like a Bobcat Goldthwait movie where you're not even like going to laugh at some parts of it. Do you know what I mean? Right. But it's kind of like, you're like, how is this happening? You know what I mean? So really enjoyable, fun to watch movie that is completely original, completely different, and not my favorite movie of the year or anything, but totally worth a watch if you have HBO Go at least, mm-hmm. and probably on demand too.
And I know that they for Halloween Kills that they cast Anthony Michael Hall as Tommy Doyle.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. Mm-hmm. It should have been Paul Rudd because he played Pammy Doo in Spread 6. Is like, no, it doesn't have to be Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
It's almost like people complain about committee movies, but then, an insider or whatever shares a news story about a movie that's being worked on, and the committee of Twitter wants it their way. or Facebook wants it their way. It's like, no, you should have cast that guy.
Dude, a perfect example is like again, going back to Disney stuff, this one that Disney's on the other side of, but the Spider-Man thing, mm-hmm. where Spider-Man is no longer going to be part of the Marvel Universe, and people are like, I feel like we don't even talk about horror on this show anymore. But, they're mad that Spider-Man's not going to be in the Avengers movies anymore. He's going to be in his own universe. And granted, Sony kind of makes kind of crappy movies most of the time. But at the same time, it's like, don't you ever just, like, get sick of it? Don't you ever feel like maybe it doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Like, maybe it doesn't fucking matter and you could just chill out. It's like you're still going to get all the rest of the Marvel movies and stuff. And granted, I love Spider-Man. I love comic book nerdery shit. But Jesus Christ, just chill out. Chill out.
But
maybe
they
it's
have
like
to make the
something that
decisions.
happens when... I know.
You have to understand. They're the producers. They're the moguls that have all the money that's going into the movie because they spent $13 on a ticket. Okay? So that $13 means that they have to listen to the fans.
Yeah. And, I'm pretty sure that, what do you call it? The one you just said, Halloween, I'm sure it'll be all right, and people will, like, go nuts for it when it comes out. They went nuts for the last one, and it was just
better than the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope it's great. You know, I hope they learn
in a way,
from their
more
mistakes.
Excited.
Or maybe they'll just fall back on them again. Who knows? But I still like the first one a lot. I didn't hate it. Yeah. It's gonna be...
you know what movie I watched that...
No.
I'll tell you. I'm surprised I didn't tell you about this. Now, this is a movie that I always see grouped in with horror movies, and I have zero idea why after watching a little bit of it. The movie, it's now on Amazon Prime and also VOD. I think I watched it on VOD because I'm an idiot, and then I saw it was on Amazon Prime afterwards. Mm-hmm. It is The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That movie sucks, dude. It stars Sam Elliott, who's like really old. Dude, that movie, like everybody talked about it when it came out, like it was some great movie and also horror. And I watched it, and I don't even know if I watched all of it. I think I watched 45 minutes of it and actually fell asleep and got up and turned it off. And I don't remember the end, so I did not finish it, I'm going to say. And it was just like... That was a bad movie. Did you ever see it?
No. I know that, what is it, Epic Pictures, which is Dread Central's thing, releasing company, they released it. And, it got some praise when it came out. I know Howard Stern saw it, and he brought it up on his show a few times, and he was like, it's a stupid movie. And then he's like, I really liked it. He really liked it, whatever. But I had heard that it's not a horror movie, and I'm like, well, do I want to watch not a horror movie? And they're like, it made me tear up at the end, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not in the mood for that. But I think a lot of people just like the title for it, kind of like Sharknado, and they have to say, hey, I watched The Man Who Killed Bigfoot and Then Hitler. They're the same people that love Nazi zombies,
Or the one, what was the one, Iron Sky or something, the Nazis on the moon movie. Huge disappointment in my life.
Mine was Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I nearly, took a dump in the theater. I was so mad. It was just that bad. I nearly shit myself. I'm like, wow, this movie's terrible. And then there are people, no, you don't understand how much time it took to make it. Yeah, they took a lot of time making the movie, but they definitely didn't take time to write the fucking movie. That's for certain.
Yeah. Man, and two other movies, I think, just because I'm thinking of, movies I've seen lately that don't live up to the things that people had said about them. The movie Slice and the movie Lords of Chaos. Both of them, I was just like, what? Why do people keep talking about these like they're cool when they are, in fact, not cool?
Because, you see, Lords of Chaos was about a fucking metal band. Metal's cool. They love metal. They'll buy shirts, but not know the band of the shirt they bought. The people
who are like, yeah, metal movie, they don't even like metal.
I remember Lords of Chaos.
They don't know shit.
I remember them.
Yeah.
You know, I remember going to the Grindhouse movies and like watching the movie, and then a reel came on, and it said reel missing, and then the movie would continue. I remember those days when I was fucking 1.
And then you try and tell the person who said that, are you sure it wasn't just when you saw Grindhouse in 2007 that occurred? You're sure that you saw that in the theater?
You saw it when you were 1?
Right. When you went to 42nd Street when you were 1?
Yeah. You were like walking around in your fucking toddler diapers. Like, yeah, that's right. I'm going to the fucking Grindhouse. Yeah.
Dude. And with the internet, it gets worse. This whole lying about their history. Like, you have, people who talk about, why can't Star Wars go back to the way they used to be? When these people who are saying it were probably born after the prequels came out. Like, what do you know?
They don't fucking know.
Or, like, people who want wrestling to go back to the way it was in the 90s. And then you look at their profile, and they were born in 1997, so they couldn't possibly know how wrestling was in the 90s.
I've been saying it for years. Dude, I was born in 74, okay? And there are people I know or knew that were born in, like, let's say 84, 86. That's when they were born. So by the time their brain started to work and their memories started to happen was probably around, like, maybe 3 or 4, which is the end of the 80s. And they're 90s kids. But they're like, no, we got to go back to before. That's like me saying I was a 70s kid. I don't remember shit from the 70s. The only thing I remember as far as dates was like first grade when we had to write down a year, 1981. That's what I remember. And I'm like, oh, neat.
Right. Everything before first grade is a blur when you look back on your life. Admit it.
Right.
Don't tell me you were at the Grindhouse Theater on 42nd Street when you were born in 1979-ish, people.
Yeah.
So anyway, one movie I am actually looking forward to, and I kind of wanted to see it yesterday, and I'm probably not going to see it in theaters now because it's probably going to go out of theaters by next week. The movie Ready or Not.
Yeah, I was going to go see it myself this weekend. I think we talked about it on the last show. And it did look like junk.
We didn't talk about it on the last show.
We didn't?
Maybe we said it looked like junk on the last show,
like junk,
but I have changed my opinion.
I have too. I mean, it's one of them things that looks like, all right, I saw it, I'm done. But I've heard it's like a lot of fun. Samara Weaving is like absolutely gorgeous. We talked about her during the Babysitter episode. And she is Hugo's, I believe, niece. She is related to Hugo Weaving, in case you didn't know.
Really?
Yeah. It's true. If you look at her face and you'll see Hugo Weaving, and then she won't be hot anymore. Yeah, she's absolutely gorgeous. She is. She's adorable and beautiful. But yeah, I really want to see it. But and people are like, "Oh my God, it's a hit! It made $10 million." I'm like, "That's not it." You know who released that, by the way, Nick? You know what production company released Ready or Not? You mentioned them earlier on this program. Disney.
Blumhouse?
Disney.
Oh, Disney.
It. Yeah.
Oh, what a world.
Yeah, that was
world.
Disney. Disney released a horror movie called Ready or Not. That's it. That was Disney. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, but I saw the whole point is I saw the trailer again and it looked really good, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's Radio Silence, which I found out after we kind of dogged it. And we liked Radio Silence. We didn't like Devil's Doo-Doo so much, but, you know, and there's, I guess, I mean, that's kind of like maybe they were forced into it. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that as well. Hopefully. Oh, yeah, next week I'll be getting Ma on Blu-ray.
Ma. Yeah, that movie, I think it didn't look too great, so good luck with that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Man.
I'll talk about it on the next show next summer.
Yeah, exactly. Next summer when we do our countdown of the best things of the decade, and you know what else is coming out? It's actually coming out around my birthday, and I tried to get tickets for it, but it's not playing at my local theater, so I don't know what I'm going to do. Is the Rob Zombie's Three from Hell?
Three from Hell,
Can't
yeah.
miss that.
One of my coworkers is going to see it.
Yeah, I want to see it. I don't know. 31 was not so great. It wasn't bad. Well, no, it was bad, but it was watchable. And the reason I love 31 is redeemed in my eyes only because of Richard Brake as Doomhead. Because without him, I'd probably be like, no, that movie was not so great. But because of him, I have to go. It wasn't bad because he's in it, and it was wonderful. And Richard Brake is in Three from Hell, and he's now my favorite actor in the world because he's the best. And I know I'm the only person who says that because I'm an idiot and a loser.
No,
so don't get on my case, people of the world.
He's great. One of my friends actually is a huge fan of his too.
Really?
Yeah, she loves Doomhead. Like that's all she talks about. Right? Richard Brake is one of the greatest. He is. I remember one of my friends that hated Halloween too. She hated his part in that where he kept saying "fuck." I'm like, well, let's see. When your van hits a fucking cow, or you're in a car, you hit a cow, and your partner is dead. You got blood all over your face. You don't know if you're dying or whatever. You're not gonna be like, oh, okay. Well, I guess it's time to get out of the vehicle. And there's a killer outside. You're gonna say the F word a lot, or you may.
And he also was. For the people listening, he also was one of the Night King on what do you call it? The show nobody likes anymore because it ended and they weren't happy with it. Game of Thrones. Yeah. I forgot the words Game of Thrones in a row. If you can imagine, that's where my brain is at this point.
They should make.
I should probably just go.
Nah,
kill myself.
I'm not gonna say that joke. No, it's gonna be a
Stay alive.
It was gonna be toilet humor. Game of Thrones. Oh. All right, I think it's time to go. Before we say something we regret. No, we really do want to do the show, and we hope you're enjoying it. We're very tired people.
Right. So I'm serious. I want to do. If you people are listening, here's the remaining 3 shows I want to do for the rest of the year. I want to do a show close to Halloween. Hopefully we can do one on It or something. I don't know if you're going to see It, Chapter 2. If not It, we'll figure something else out. I like to do an episode then. And then we got to do the best of the year for 2019. And then we are doing, and I swear to God, we are only probably a handful of episodes away from what will be the greatest achievement in podcasting history on my part. The episode where we look at our favorite movies of the decade. I have prophesized this episode for many years, and it's coming. I am going to live that long. I'm going to make it to the end of the year so we can record it.
The whole episode, no movie of the week that episode. I'm calling it.
No way. No movie of the week, that episode or the other one. Yeah. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. You and me are going to do it. We're going to do 2 countdown episodes in a row because I love them, and it's the end of the decade. And if we do any other episodes other than those 3, consider yourselves blessed with our episodes. Consider yourselves blessed from the horror movie gods for our secondary reaction market TV show.
It's the greatest in your own mind. I love it. All right, Nick.
Yeah.
I can't wait till 2 people respond to your list. And at the end of okay.
I don't know which 2.
I don't know. All right. I'm going to bed because I have to wake up in a few hours. Nick, where can people follow you?
At New Jersey Nick on Twitter if you want to hear me talk about wrestling all day. And give it an occasional horror movie take.
All right. I have a new Twitter handle. I don't know if you noticed or not.
Yes, I did.
I think it's better, don't you?
It's okay.
It was going to be the tweet that Jack built, but it wouldn't allow me. So it's tweet Jack built. That's it. I like it better than Jacob K666. I got a bunch of fucking goofy Satanists like, hey, you like the devil too? Me too. All right, praise to Satan. Like, yeah. I
there's a
believe in
documentary
dragons
out now
too.
called Hail. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No, dude, there's a documentary out now called Hail Satan. And I was like, I don't even want to see it. I know you'd all be like, oh, Nick will probably want to watch a movie about Satan. But guess what? In real life, if you're a Satanist, like, they just seem like lame people who are trying so hard.
They're the ones
And I
that-
don't care.
They're like the people that want to be vampires.
Right.
It's like, yes, I'm a vampire. Just sleep in a coffin.
And then they have fangs, and they're part of a
You know what I thought
group of
about
people.
before I go to sleep? I gotta tell you this. I thought of this. And I know you backed this up, and this is going to be another rant, but it's not going to be a long one. There's no way in fucking hell that you can tell me that ghosts are real, because we have cell phones recording shit all the fucking time, and not one person recorded a paranormal experience with one of these cell phones with camera. I think that's why they release cameras with these phones at all, unless it's doctored or fucked with. You notice that? Like, and people still stand by it. They have ghost hunting shows and stuff with cameras, and I'm like, no, people record every little thing out there, and they still have not proven that there's an actual apparition or a ghost with the cell phone. Right? Sorry to bust your bubble.
Not that I know of.
Not you, Nick.
Are you busting my bubble?
No, other people's bubbles. Like, whoever, believes it. You can believe in whatever, but I'm like, I sat there and thought the other day, I'm like, do ghosts, if they exist, go, well, now they got cell phones, we ain't gonna appear now. Because they released these fucking cell phones. Come on. Like, if it exists, why am I not seeing any Martians all of a sudden on videos?
No, there's definitely. A lot of people say, all right, UFO wise, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, how come I don't see any UFO videos now? And it's because the show Sightings is no longer on TV. Go online. There's actually way more UFO videos these days. Go online, but a lot of them are like terrible, because guess what? Cell phones take terrible video, but there's a lot of weird lights in the sky, and guess what? Most of them are probably drones, but that's not the point. The point is, if you go online and type in UFO 2019 video, you'll go see some shit. You'll see shit.
Ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna see ghosts.
Ghosts are. I wish I had like a ghost video that I could be like, but Jack, what about this one? But I really don't have that video.
I saw one a while back, and it was on VHS. It was at one of my friends' weddings, and I saw weird shit that happened in that video, but I haven't seen it since. And I'm like, where the fuck is that video? There's tons of them, dude. There were tons of them, and now all of a sudden there's nothing. There's not one that goes, oh my god, I heard chains upstairs. I haven't saw a fucking video of just hearing a ghost. I haven't seen any. You watch, we're gonna get inundated now.
I swear to you, I wish I could be like, but Jack, there's this video here,
but
and then isn't. I don't know it.
No,
okay, I don't know it.
There's videos of people acting like assholes on the road, and like,
right.
Middle-aged women calling the manager and shit, like, or the police. There's tons of that, but there are no videos of ghosts. I guess they're not around anymore. They took a holiday.
I don't know. Do you want to see videos of aliens walking around and shit?
No, I want to see my eyelids closed so I can wake up.
Oh, okay. Because if I show you these videos that I've seen of aliens walking around and shit, you will not sleep.
Nah, they're not aliens. They're cats. All right.
I wish.